ありがとうございます。
結局ね、筋を炒めちゃってて、痛みが取れるまでこうやってて、いまだにこうやって当たると痛いし、あと指曲げると、だからまあ、こういう感じは、これは曲がるんです、ここはね。戻すのに、肘きでやるとちょっと痛くて、Hに手で戻さない。それがもう1ヶ月以上続いて。林家君のこのカメラって、これは池中とかずっと林家君同じカメラ使ってたからな、もう。でも今4K カメラってどれぐらいできるの？中に見せなきゃいけない VHS のレコーダーなんか思い出すと。で、最初に買ったのは100万円別のがあって、肩からそれぞれの本とかカメラで千葉先生とかソニーの F なんちゃってやつで。それは据え置きのビデオタデッキになるし、一番のさ、松木かなんかの実際に見てみたから、少し撮りながらさ、天発はええの。青いと、あれ見る大笑いした。心の声のダダ漏れって。親さんがやってる頃は知ってるのに、一番嫁も中島嫁もやってる。マリちゃん、井上嫁もな。マリちゃん、うちのためにもよりも感情ほどついちゃった。You okay?
No, this is AI picture. The figure in the supposed to have of our society, of our
sci-fi イラスト、SF イラストは
original character.
Oh, yeah. SF 系だ。加減なんちゃらだ。SF 系だよ。SF 系にやってるんですよ。映像系だから。
あれなんでオレンジ色じゃないのか。セレモニーがあるから、なんですかね、そうですね。昨日までオレンジ色。
なんか目覚めてくる。 それぐらい時間かかる。
行ったことはないです。地元のメーリングリストには入ってますけど。
スモコンは昨日ベッドサイトで話してたような話は永遠に会議じゃなくて集会だから。スモコンって基本的に吸い取りに多いんでしょ。考え方とだから宴会場にね、有効なもので、そこに特別企画で、例えばコンベンションセンターでコンベンションセンターがいいとか、会議があるので。百戦錬磨でさ、そこには行かないんだから、俺らみたいに初めて行った人から見てもいいですけど、で、さっきの悪いやはり昔の宇宙人のどうみたいな話をある程度永遠としてた。
でもスマホのメーリングリストはいろいろといい情報が流れているので、例えばここの英語のプログラム特にやるときにありがたいです。役立ちます。
Did you get my message about the photo? Oh no, I took it. I added you to a group chat. Go to your tabs. This one. So today at 3:30, today's Saturday, 3:30, on the third floor of the museum, where the Hugo reception will be, the Hugo after party. That's where we're going to do our party. Yeah. Yeah. 3:30.
家の3階に上がって外に出とか行ってないの？教えて。写真撮って。
はね、だから一回このホテルに戻って、2つ食べさせてもらった方が
これでネクタイする。 ちゃんとした学校そこまで
ちょっと悩んだんだけど、中国では英語もらえないと思ってたので、
でもね、ちゃんとした格好って言うから、自分のところの T シャツ着てるおじさんがいっぱいいるから。そうだよな、ここに来てるチアの数が少ないからな、一人でも増やしたらない。アメリカでやれば大体30人は見たら。
ボイコットしてる人とかもいるみたいですよね。
だからある人いるし。チアに関しては一応なんだかんだで大会の中で尊敬される立場で、そういうような写真撮ったりパーティーあったりとかで、それがあるからみんなチア目指すんだよね。日本の実行委員長もワールド連合会議と率先してもっと実行委員長持ち上げてあげれば実行委員長やりたいってやつが出てくる。
今の連合会議はもう老害の集まりなんで、
少なくともさ、歴代委員長が来てるけど、撮影会と委員長を中心の簡単なパーティーを連合会議で主催すりゃいいんだよ。池田さん見てるんだと思うしね。
連合会議をしてくださいませ。でも、井上さん、連合会議続けますかって、私が事務局長になった時に送った時やめるって言いましたよね。とりあえずメーリングリストだけは残してますけど。
だって宇宙軍いる。宇宙軍いるの生き残ったでしょ。
宇宙軍はい生き残ってますよ。
宇宙軍だから今の一番偉い人、練習したいのあんま来ないからね。大事的に。まあ同じグループから2、3人出てもいいんだもんね。
全然問題ないよ。
池田君だって立派なファーストチアだ。
ファーストチアですね、日本では。
これって10分1回しかやってない。投稿した時間が出ない。それぞれ
People should be seated. The list will begin in a moment here.
ここでやるからこっち来てやってもいいだろここそういうの Wi-Fi ないよ会場に。
あっちあるかもしれない。多分どこかかってる。
博物館でミュージアム。
みんな使い始めちゃうから大変だよ。
どっからで見せるよ。満点のやつが見せてもらった。
The business meeting of the World Science Fiction Society, the Worldcon for the order. This is the site selection main meeting, so I'm going to dispense with the usual business meeting session preliminaries and go directly to that. This will be the agenda for the meeting, starting with the announcement of the 2025 winner and their presentation, then Glasgow 26 bidders, and a brief recess, and then we'll go to the various business which was not previously disposed of, and at that time we'll do the usual business meeting and the business preliminaries. So Helen, I'm ready to say selection.
Good morning. My name is Helen Montgomery. How about now? Excellent. Good morning. My name is Helen Montgomery. I had the privilege of being the administrator for the site selection of the 2025 Worldcon. We received 168 valid ballots for this year, and of these, we received 1 vote for Peggy Ray's house. We received 2 votes for Zerps in 2010. We received 2 no preference votes, and we received 163 votes for Seattle. So congratulations. Seattle will be hosting the 2025 Worldcon, and I think they now get to come up and tell you all about it, yes? Not quite?
Honorable Chair, I ask unanimous consent that we thank the tellers for their hard work and instruct them to destroy the voting portion of the ballots to make the selection official.
Without objection, into so order.
I'll go set some stuff on fire.
Good morning. We're just getting the second presentation up. My name is Alan Bond.
And I'm Kevin Black.
We are here on behalf of the co-chairs of the Seattle 2025 bid. They are Kathy Bond and Sonny Jim Morgan. They are very sorry that they could not be here in Chengdu and not being able to come. They did the next best thing that they could think of and sent their husbands to do their bidding on their behalf. Hopefully we have been bidding well on their behalf. Going forward, as the seated Worldcon for 2025, Kathy will chair the Worldcon, and Sonny Jim will be the program division head, and we will continue to do their bidding. Kevin as publications division head, and me as the chair's advisor, troubleshooter, and ottoman.
Before we go on, we need to give our thanks to the Chengdu Worldcon for your incredible hospitality this weekend, and all your assistance bringing us here to China, administering the site selection process despite great difficulties in an excellent fashion across national barriers and across continents, and being good friends to us during the process. As we go forward as a seated Worldcon, we will draw inspiration from this amazing Worldcon in Chengdu, and we expect as well to be inspired by Glasgow in 2024.
We have some announcements to make. Before we do, there's someone else we need to thank, which is the artist who created our fabulous bid logo. Artwork and graphics, which have served us so well over the years of bidding. made us look so good that apparently they scared everyone else away from competing with us. Our logo was designed by Hugo Award-winning artist Lee Moyer, who lives in Portland, Oregon, and is well known for his many book covers, comic books, games, pinups, and work on the Small God series with Sean and McGuire.
We are rebranding now as a seated Worldcon, so all of your swag with this logo will be now extremely valuable collector's items. We have a short presentation which will reveal our guests of honor and the hosts for Seattle Worldcon 2025, and also our new theme and branding.
Have you heard?
Ring, 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 ring.
Seattle is hosting a Worldcon!
Yes, Worldcon is coming to Seattle in 2025. We thank all of our supporters who have helped us along the way. The team is excited to introduce the Worldcon community to our local Pacific Northwest community of learners, doers, makers, and participators. We invite all of you to come to Seattle and build new bonds and an even brighter future for science fiction fandom.
Without further ado, the Seattle Worldcon 2025 team would now like to introduce you to our amazing guests of honor and hosts.
First, we have our author, Martha Wells. Martha Wells has been a science fiction and fantasy author since her first fantasy novel was published in 1993. Her new best-selling series, The Murderbot Diaries, has won numerous awards, including the Hugo, Nebula, Locus, and American Library Association Alex Award. Her work also includes the books of the Roxura series, the Orion series, and several other fantasy novels, most recently Witch King, which was published this year, as well as short fiction, nonfiction, and media tie-ins for Star Wars, Stargate Atlantis, and Magic the Gathering. She's a member of the Texas Literary Hall of Fame, and her work has been translated into 25 languages.
Second, artist Donato Giancola. Donato Giancola's passion for narrative art has seen his work grace the covers of over 300 science fiction and fantasy novels, placed in hundreds of private and public collections, and landed numerous peer honors, including 3 Hugo Awards, 2 gold and 6 silver medals from Spectrum, the best in contemporary fantastic art, 23 Chesley Awards, and numerous other awards. Donato recognizes the significant cultural role played by art and makes personal efforts to contribute to the expansion and appreciation of genre works. To that end, he serves as an instructor at the Smart School, the Illustration Masterclass, and lectures extensively at conventions, events, and universities worldwide. His current projects include themed works for exhibition at fine art galleries, ongoing commercial assignments, book projects for J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth, and explorations on his developing themes of empathetic robots and astronauts.
We have JPL engineer and master costumer, Bridget Landry. Bridget Landry was educated as a chemist and planetary scientist and works as an engineer. She has worked in robotic spacecraft operations for 35 years, including the Hubble Space Telescope, Mars Pathfinder, the Cassini mission to Saturn, and both the Curiosity and Perseverance rovers. Wearing her technical hat, Bridget has been on science panels at Worldcons as well as local and regional conventions. However, she has been attending and working cons for much longer, since the age of 13. She's also a master-level costumer and has won Masquerade Awards at both local, regional, and Worldcon level.
Songwriter, musician, and performer, Alexander James Adams. In March 2007, unleashed from the land of Fae came a minstrel named Alexander James Adams. The gender-opposite twin of Heather Alexander, he has inherited and continued her music and magic for all old friends of the Heatherlands, while earning new ones of his own. With fiery fiddle, compelling voice, and the same enchanting magic, Alexander inspires his audiences to make their dreams come true and look for the wonders within. From tender love songs to rowdy brawls, gentle Irish airs to rockin' reels, the fairy tale minstrel brings ancient legends and magical mythology to the mortal world in true bardic style, proving once and for all that magic never dies.
Those are our 4 guests of honor, but we have 2 hosts to announce for our Worldcon. Kay Tempest Bradford and Nisi Shaw. Kay Tempest Bradford is an award-winning teacher, media critic, and author of fantasy and science fiction steeped in black girl magic. Her debut middle grade novel, Ruby Finley versus the Interstellar Invasion, won the 2022 Andre Norton Nebula Award and is nominated for an Ignite Award. Tempest's short fiction has appeared in multiple anthologies and magazines. Her media criticism and essays on diversity and representation have been published at NPR, IO9, Ebony Magazine, and more. She teaches classes and gives talks on representation and creating diverse narratives, and has been invited to teach at Clarion West, Lit Reactor, universities, and entertainment companies. She receives a 2023 Locus Special Award for developing diversity in genre communities, the 2020 Locus Special Award for Inclusivity and Representation Education, and the 2022 Lemonade Award.
Nisi Shaw is the multiple award-winning author, co-author, and editor of more than a dozen books of speculative fiction and related nonfiction, including the standard text on diverse representation, Writing the Other, a Practical Approach. This text forms the basis for the class series of the same name, which they teach and administer with Kay Tempest Bradford. The Writing the Other workshops and webinars cover respectful representation of characters of differing demographics, culturally aware world building, and diverse narrative voices. Shaw's best-known fiction is the Nebula Award finalist novel, Everfair. The book, Kinning, to be published in January 2024, is an Everfair sequel. Recent books, including the 2022 story collection, Our Fruiting Bodies, and the 2023 middle grade historical fantasy novel, Speculation. Editing credits include the 2023 anthology, New Sun 2. They've spoken at Duke University, Spelman College, Sarah Lawrence College, and many other institutions. For over 2 decades, they have served on the board of the Clarion West Writers Workshop and the Carl Raymond Society, a nonprofit supporting the presence of people of color in fantastic literature.
So Worldcon has not been in Seattle since 1961. A lot has changed since then.
Seattle is a home base for a number of exciting industries, like aerospace, biotech, software, and gaming.
While here, you can visit exciting attractions like the Museum of Popular Culture, historic Pike Place Market, and the Fremont Troll.
Explore the stunning outdoors right on our doorstep. We're nestled between the water and the mountains with easy access to day hikes, boat tours, and more.
The Seattle Worldcon 2025 will be held in the brand new Seattle Convention Center Summit building. It's great. Let's take a photo tour.
So this is a photo of the center from across an expanse. It is gorgeous. You can see it's got glass throughout, so there is light everywhere. This is the stair climb. You can see those windows on all sides, and if you look in the distance there, you can see Pike Market down at the bottom of Pike Street and the Salem Beyond. Here is the third floor. This is where a lot of our programming spaces will be. You can see the size of the hallways is quite large, so it shouldn't be hard to get, it should be hard to have difficulty getting where you're going. This is again another hallway by the rooms. You can see that the rooms have their numbers on them that are quite easy to see, so you shouldn't be lost.
And now announcing our new theme. For this, we drew inspiration from the 21st Century 21 exposition. At our Worldcon, we don't want to recreate this. We want to recreate the spirit of wonder about the future with the benefit of experience and the sense of humor, which leads us to building yesterday's future for everyone. Seattle is a forward-looking city. The last Worldcon held here in 1961 saw the future literally under construction. Across town, preparations were being made for the opening of the 1962 World's Fair, called the Century 21 Exposition. 7 months later, visitors would ride the new monorail into fairgrounds filled with scientific displays looking forward to life in the space age. The public gawked at inventions like solar batteries, touch-tone dialing, and call waiting, all under the shadow of the iconic Space Needle, which was also a revolving restaurant. Innovation, it was promised, would lead us to a utopia where society's ills would be swept away by a tide of American-led innovation.
How did it work out? Well, Seattle grew, but our utopia has yet to arrive. As we look back on a 64-year gap between Worldcons, we interrogate those dreams of tomorrow. What did they get wrong? Who did they leave out? A better future must include everyone. We don't miss everything about the 1960s, but we are nostalgic for their optimism, the sense of the future as a canvas. Our imaginations have the power to transform.
We invite you to join us in two Seattles, the city it has become, and the multicultural and inclusive version of the city that was promised by Century 21. By sharing your stories, your costumes, your arguments, your accessories, and artistic creations, we will use our imaginations to build yesterday's tomorrow and explore the wonders of the 21st century.
So let's Seattle to Seattle in 2025.
Hang on.
There's one more, but somehow it got deactivated.
We have the technology. Yes, our new logo. Oh. Thank you. Oh, yes, we're happy to take questions.
Yes, we have a few minutes for questions.
And also, while we do that, Joe is handing out our PR0, which is in both English and Chinese, and it has a summary of our theme and a list of our guests of honor, and also our first membership rates. Also, we expect that our website will be launching, our new website. Our bid website is there now. Our new website will be launching at the same URL in about an hour and 15 minutes. And you will be able to, we hope, purchase memberships at that time.
Sure.
第一个问题是西雅图世界方案大会的简称是什么？现在，然后第二个问题呢是对于为西雅图投票的会员，然后西雅图对于线下参会有什么优惠？谢谢。
So we have chosen to go with the name Seattle Worldcon 2025 as our official name. And then the question about discounts is that we are going to be, as you can see on the sheet, we're going to have the same price for people who pre-supported as everyone else. They will get $1 credit for anything that they have done in support of the bid to go against the cost of their membership.
Yes, and I think that shows if you are, at least until our first price rate, if you have a WizFizz membership because you voted in site selection, then I believe the upgrade fee is $125 American.
So the translators asked me to repeat myself slower. Basically, if you pre-supported the bid or voted in site selection, you should be getting a dollar for dollar credit for that money that you've already given us to the cost of your membership.
Any other questions?
Oh, 西雅图世界方案会的两位，就是目前看到的会员费率 是以世界公案协会会员作为基准，也就是说，凡购买西雅图世界公案大会的会员并且出席的人都会具有世界公案协会会员身份，然后不会出现说这个只购买了线下参与的资格，但是也没有世界公案协会会员身份，也没有这个参与世界公案、参与多奖投票、参与事务会议的权利的这样的人士。
So, my understanding, so the question was whether the purchasing of a membership assumes that you have a WizBiz membership, or whether there were a way to get a membership without the WizBiz membership and not be able to attend a business meeting. And I believe that our structure is that you need to have a WizBiz membership to get an attending supplement. And so you do, if you get a WizBiz membership and an attending supplement, you will have the right to attend the business meeting. Yes.
Other questions?
I don't see any for, okay, one more question here. We have very little time, just one more question.
How can people volunteer to help you, Kevin?
That is a great question. This is the first Worldcon, of course, in Seattle since 1961. We need a lot of help, a lot of hands to make it the most wonderful event that we possibly can. The new website that launches, a lot of things are under development, but it does have a page for volunteering, and there is an email address for that. You can also talk to Alan and me in person. And contact us through our website. We have plenty of positions that we need, and we will be posting those as we go along. Both brand positions, like division head positions, and a lot of smaller positions that we need to fill.
Thank you very much, and we should all congratulate Seattle again. So the next item of business would be presentation and questions for next year's 2024 Worldcon, which is to be held in Glasgow, Scotland.
Hello, can you hear me okay? Did I hear anything? Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So I'm Vincent Doherty, representing the Glasgow 2024 committee. Just a reminder, Glasgow 2024 Worldcon for Our Futures will be held Thursday the 8th till Monday the 12th of August 2024, so next year. It will be located in Scotland. Glasgow is the largest city in Scotland, and at the Scottish Exhibition Campus. Third time I've been in Glasgow. Just to say, the campus is flat, with just a couple of meeting rooms, one floor up. Very, very accessible. It was a hospital during the pandemic, and therefore all of the air filtering has been upgraded to medical standard. It also hosted the Climate Conference 26, and therefore the Wi-Fi has also been upgraded to that standard. We now have 8 on-site hotels, and booking for those will open at the beginning of next year. Our registration rates are on the website, with strong incentives for younger people and various categories to encourage inclusivity. A reminder, our guests of honour are Chris Baker, also known as Feinhorn, Claire Briley and Mark Plummer, Ken MacLeod, Nedia Corafor and Terry Windling, and we're delighted that both Ken and Nedia are here in Chengdu as well. We currently have 3,800 members, of which 3,400 are attending, and we're expecting 6,000 plus to be at the convention next year. We would love if you would volunteer. We have a committee, we have lots of volunteers, we always need more. And if you're interested in being on programme or have programme ideas, the forms for those expressions of interest are already on our website. So please go there, and just a reminder, the website is glasgow2024.org. That's all I really want to say. Very happy to take questions.
Are there any questions for Glasgow? No. It's not. Wait for a microphone.
James Stiles. Just a quick question about the hotels. I haven't seen them yet. Are they really close to the venue, or are they sort of scattered all over, or just
The 8 on-site hotels are, one is physically attached, and the others are all there. The furthest is kind of like from here to the venue here. There is a river, there are 2 footbridges across, a couple of hotels on the other side, but again, it's literally the distance like across the lake here. And it's all flat and all accessible.
Are there any further questions for Glasgow? It would appear not. Thank you very much.
So thank you, and look forward to seeing you next year.
Well, next order of business would be presentations for 2026. Is there a Los Angeles in 2026?
Hello, I'm still Helen Montgomery, but now I am here as a representative of the Los Angeles in 2026 bid. I have a message here from Joyce Lloyd, who is the bid chair. She regrets that she could not be here in person. Los Angeles is bidding for August 27th through 31st of 2026. The facility will be Anaheim Convention Center and the Hilton Anaheim. This is the same location if you went to Los Angeles in 2006. The convention center will be utilizing the north facility of the convention center, the arena, and then additional function space in the Hilton. The Hilton will be the primary hotel for sleeping rooms, and we are currently negotiating with a $179 rate for room nights, plus assorted taxes and fees, because that's how we do things in the US. We are also negotiating with the Anaheim Marriott for the remainder of our sleeping rooms. Currently, the Marriott has offered $199 plus taxes and fees per night, but of course, we are working on that. The Hilton, we currently are estimating we'll be using about 1,000 rooms at the Hilton and 500 at the Marriott, but there are additional rooms at both hotels, so we absolutely have the ability to expand if we need to. Both hotels are a quick walk and easy access to the convention center and arena. It basically forms a U. So there's a hotel here and a hotel here, and then the convention center is here. So it's a very flat plaza, very easy to walk every place. And for those who were there in 2006, you already know this, but if you weren't, Disneyland is in fact close enough to walk to. It is a 15-minute walk from the convention center campus over to Disneyland, and there's also a shuttle from the Hilton to Disneyland's entrance. So you can absolutely come early, stay late, or even take a day off from the convention and go over to the park. That's pretty much the main information we have right now. Obviously, we're a ways out. The vote, of course, would be next year in Glasgow, and some more information is going to be coming throughout this next year. Thank you very much.
Are there questions? Well, I see none. You want to comment, Cairo, 26? Or whatever? Where?
Hello, I am Yasser Banjit. I am the chair of what was JediCon, then turned into PeroniCon, and now into who knows what con. I just want to inform everyone that I'm sorry for all of these changes that we're making, but we're facing a pretty hard time getting approval from the local governments to host this event for various reasons that I don't need to get into here right now. Just wish us luck. We're still trying to find a venue for 2026, but if until the beginning of next year we don't have one, we will regrettably either withdraw or move to some other year. Thank you very much.
Any questions?
Thank you. So that's just how my bid is going.
So we're actually well ahead of schedule. So are there any bids for 27, 28, 29, any future years that would like to have 5 minutes to speak? Yeah? No?
I don't think they were aware that they should be here, but just so folks know, Uganda is bidding for 2028, and they do have a booth in the fan hall in the main expo. So I don't think they knew that they should be here to present today. But I just want to make sure folks know that you can go and talk to Michael over at that table.
Thank you. It's just a little after 10:30. As per the agenda, unless there's some objection, we'll have a 15-minute recess and then proceed with the regular business. So we'll reconvene at 10:45, 10:45. We're in recess.
井上さん紹介します。食事対応さん。
どうも、はじめまして。井上です。日本人のアクセントがなんですが、いろいろ、今回、いろいろお世話になってます。
ああ、なるほど。はい。藤井さんですかって間違えられたという。
あなたはそうですか。日本人はね、雰囲気がね。今回はビジネスミーティング初めてです。PA 合計のビジネスミーティングこんなにね、うまく回ってるのは僕らがやりきれなかった。もう一度いろいろ考えない。そうですか。まあ今ね、SF ブームですからね。ただ韓国からファンサイドがあまりなってないので。どこでもできるかもしれないですから。ちょっと日本じゃ真似できなくて羨ましいですよね。
その後自分の顔使わないで。
僕も今ね、大学教えてはいて、今回は半分は学校前にだからブタンででこっち来て、昨日その前の日は実は僕は学校前にさせられてて、要は留学生、誘致で日曜日に僕先にまた部下に戻って部下で回って講師の文化学校は留学生がダメですからでなんかプロモーションのために土曜日に深センで文化省が外務省の主催の日本語スピーチコンテストがあるんですけどそこにうちの大学の人間を僕を押し込んで審査員にさせられて作ったりとか反日中国そうそうもしよければ簡単な役ですです。よろしく。 いえいえ、僕らもちょうど70年代の女性ブームの終わりに宇宙部でグループ作って、そのグループから結局この業界入るというか、少々諸先輩たちが入れ替わる時期だったので、それは良かったかもしれません。そうですね、僕はもう野田正宏のトムみたいなぜひまた今後も、はい、坂倉さんといろいろご相談もしなきゃいけないような気もするんですけど。いい感じのアスファルトのつながりみたいなのを日本で作っていきたいんですけどね。半分フレンド会議もちょっと頑張ってもらわないといけないと思いますけどね。ヒューゴとネビュラの役の関係とその位置づけの違いがありますからね。面白いですね。名刺を一応大学名刺です。でも今年は大変なんですよ。大学の方ですか。はい。もう定年退職。もういい年ですから。全然お金もそこに対してはお金使わない出版社の方が新人作家の子に配ってこれからサイン会をやるから来てくれる。原画展とかマネジメントで一人でやってます。漫画家の方とかやってます。でもね、そこ改良がないとダメだと思いますよ、僕は。出版社さんがやっぱり商売を育てるという気持ちもあったりします。そういう意味でね、本会社さんや出版社さんがちょっとね、お金使って、コンテンツを自分のものにするみたいなのをやらなかったり、出版業界のあれ変わり自体です。変わってきてますけどね、やっぱりギリギリで回すのが続くみたいな、かなり少数が出ちゃうので、海外で。確かにプレーはしますね。アメリカでやったらそうですね。 僕はアニメをやってるおかげで、海外のアニメのモデライズはよくございます。で、たださっき映像化されるのが分かんないけど、だからそれを見ながら、海外の連載を今回もあれどこだっけ紹介してくれるんですか。何語だった？インド語かな。日本の出版社紹介です。でそれは全然つけない。インドね、インドのこれはあるよね。自分考えてるのは。
早川氏も紹介してもいいんですけど、
だからね、結局、ワールドコンなんかでいうと、ついて日本人だけど、プロはまあ関係なしに高いかと思って他に捨てがないですから、アニメの練習とかで、だからもちろん、アニメの前だったら戦略的にこのサッカーを復帰してくれるなんで、ちょっと待ってないかなって、今？で、この時間だけやると6人だったら、外面が入れたので、決済が出てきたんですけど、100円入ってきたんですよ。今、ここに携帯が出てきて、じゃあ、最長で来てる。何だろうだから、どこにもこう、セレクションしてないから。してる。来たね終わったんだ。あ、結構。辞退という話してたけど。45分まで休憩。あ、休憩。ありがとう。
私も前に挨拶したら、
はい。また日本帰りましたのでよろしくお願いします。お疲れ様です。昨日の彼と誰かっていう顔が覚えた。これから醤油を入れたときは一緒に記念写真撮って写真撮ってください。運用ができてるのであれば。
忙しいですね。すいません、じゃあちょっと。
お疲れ様です。
じゃあ、お疲れ様です。ありがとうございました。
People should be seated while we're resuming the meeting. Call the business meeting back to order. Oh, I'd like to have the head table staff introduce themselves.
我是中方秘书黄义阳，然后烦请大家在发表自己的讲话之前，先报上自己的名字。请使用尊敬的主席替代先生或者女士这样的性别性称呼。请大家在领取议程表之外，还要领取包含 F7 及 F8 委员会报告、F9 委员会报告以及 F5 的文档修改说明。谢谢大家。
I'm Anne-Marie Rudolph. I'm the English Language Secretary for the meeting.
I'm Donald Eastlake, the presiding officer.
我是罗艳丽，本次是会议的中方审裁官。
我是杨小廖，本次是会议的计时人。
I'm Kevin Standley. I am the deputy presiding officer and the videographer, and I will preside in such cases when the presiding officer is unable to for various reasons.
我是姚雪，事务会议的现场监督，谢谢。
Just a reminder that the meeting is being recorded, so your image and voice may appear. This will be posted to the Worldcon events channel on YouTube, probably shortly after the end of the Worldcon. A few of the procedural notes. Hopefully people noted their attendance on the attendance sheets when they came in. You should turn off the sound on your cell phone or other devices like that. When you are called on to speak, you should either come up to the podium or the microphone may be delivered to you and speak into the microphone and state your name before you speak. If there's some difficulty in your standing and getting there, we can get a microphone to you. And just a reminder, what people say in debate doesn't necessarily have to be true or factual, but people should remain quiet regardless. Okay, so business not, we're going to be processing business that was not disposed of previously, including yesterday, and these are all constitutional amendments. The first one is the one that we didn't get to at all, which was F10. So this is in your agenda, and it's entitled Best Game Category. The debate time limit has been set to 6 minutes for this amendment. The makers anything they wish to say or they present? If not, is there any debate or discussion on this amendment to the Constitution?
Yesterday we ratified a vesting veto. I believe that this proposal represents a completely improper override, and therefore we should not put forward this guy.
Is there any further debate on this motion? On the Constitution? Seeing none, we will proceed to a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed? Thank you. The nays have it. It's unanimous.
Question of privilege, sir. I heard people calling from the audience. They were unaware of what motion was being placed before. I would suggest that we do the vote again from the beginning to make it a little more clear.
I will be happy to do that. This is a vote on item F10 in the agenda, which is a motion to amend the Whistler's Constitution. To take effect, this would have to be passed by this meeting and then ratified next year in Glasgow. The text of the amendment is in the agenda. The text is quite short. It's a new Hugo category. It says awarded to science fiction or fantasy productions presented in game form for the first time in the previous year. If there was any lack of clarity, entertain any further debate if people want to at this point. But there doesn't seem to be any such debate, so I will take the vote again just in case there was some confusion. Those in favor of this constitutional amendment, please raise your hand. Thank you. Those opposed, please raise your hand. The nays have it, and the amendment is defeated. So the next item is F10, which came up before, but sorry, F5. The primary question before when this was brought up was that there appeared to be some inconsistency between the exact meanings of the English and the Chinese versions. And as the motion was originally submitted in Chinese, the voting officers went off and looked at this, and we have made a suggested change in the English version, I guess, which is the top of this sheet of paper that says F5 on it. Particularly, it changes paid its contributors or staff monetarily to was it paid professional creation. This is, in our opinion, more parallel to the meaning and adjacent meaning in the Chinese version. So, and the effect of this is to restrict the fan cast Hugo category from its current state to add a restriction on not being a paid professional creation. Is there any debate on this constitutional amendment?
I would like to make a motion to amend. I believe that I would like to amend to strike out the was a paid professional creation and change it back to paid its contributors or staff monetarily. And I will speak to that when there's debate.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded to undo this change and presumably therefore make this the equivalent change to the Chinese version. Moved and seconded to do that. I would speak in favor of the amendment.
The first sentence of the category definition already specifies that it's a non-professional creation. So the second bullet point actually is meaningless. However, paid as contributors for contributors or staff monetarily is a proper restriction that matches other Hugo categories for fan work. So I believe that that is the more appropriate thing to do what the makers of this motion intended.
And you're Dave McCarty, right?
Sorry, I am Dave McCarty still.
Is there a speech against the amendment? Seeing none, those in favor of the amendment, please raise your hand. Thank you. Those opposed? The amendment passes unanimously. We're now back on the question as amended, which is basically that's the wording crossed out on the slide if you're looking at that. So it now says, paid its contributors or staff monetarily. Is there any further debate on this constitutional amendment as we just amended it? Seeing none, we'll proceed to a vote. All those in favor of this constitutional amendment, please raise your hand. Thank you. All those opposed? It passes unanimously. So this will be, this motion is adopted, and this constitutional amendment will be passed on to Glasgow next year for possible ratification. Next item is F7 and F8 in the agenda, which were referred to a committee, and the committee came back with a motion to replace 7 and F8. The handout shows what is on this slide here as a replacement motion for F7 and F8. However, it was noted that actually countries don't administer the Hugo Awards. That text to that, and the committee actually modified its report to do a replacement. So in all cases where it says the administering country, this has been changed, and I have a slide here which shows the changed text for English. So basically, all instances where it says the languages of the administering country have been changed to say languages of the countries of the administering and prior year Worldcons, as the intent had been to affect things related to the language of the country where the Worldcon is being held. So I'll give people a moment to
clarification. This is Anne asking for clarification. Is this to replace both of these 7 and 8?
Yes, this is a single amendment which replaces both items F7 and item F8 in the agenda. So unless if there are any questions on this change in text, I'll be happy to clarify further, or the committee can if necessary. But I guess you want to give us a statement in favor or whatever.
Yes, the budget committee for F7 and F8. The spirit that we felt was in the proposal F7 and F8 was inclusivity of other languages in other countries. So we reworded rather than striking out the original text in the Constitution, we amended it so that it would be more inclusive to other languages and other countries.
Thank you. That's effectively a speech in favor. Is there a speech against the report on the constitutional amendment replacing F7 and F8?
Point of information, I assume that change carried the change of that languages of the administrating, and prior year's Worldcon is both for 341 and 342.
That is correct. All 4 instances have been replaced.
Thank you.
Replacement. And I believe you're still pending on one.
Right.
Any further questions or comments on this constitutional amendment?
I remain Dave McCarty. I am speaking in favor of this amendment. Speaking as a Hugo administrator this year, it was unfortunate that works that were published for the first time in Chinese were not eligible. And I think that this is wholly appropriate and critically needed by the society, so I encourage everybody to vote for it.
Thank you. There have been 2 speeches in favor in a row. Are there any speeches against? Seeing none, I will proceed to a vote.
Parliamentary inquiry.
Yes.
Kevin Stanley. Are we voting to substitute this for what was in the agenda, or are we assuming this is a substitute and voting directly on it?
I believe you're assuming this is a substitute, and we're voting on this as a constitutional amendment. Microphone.
I have just a question. I'm for this motion, but if there was a Worldcon first in Finland and in China, should it be that the language is Finnish and Chinese?
Yes. I'll just clarify this point. I mean, the original text of the Constitution does not ban any language at all. So anyone can actually vote for anything published in any language on the planet, okay, the year before. But here is the exception of republication. So if it was republished in a translated language of the host country, then, or if it was republished for the first time in that country. So this is an exception for republication, not for original publication. Sorry again, I'm still the answer budget.
Very good. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, so this is an amendment to the Constitution, and if passed, it will be here, and then it will go on to Glasgow next year for ratification. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you. All those opposed? The Constitutional Amendment passes unanimously and will be passed on to Glasgow next year for ratification. Next and last item is F9 from the agenda. This was referred to a committee, and as I was a member of the committee, I was asked the Deputy Presiding Officer to preside while the system is.
Thank you. Although I do very much appreciate a volunteer to help operate the camera to do the zooming of the room so that we have shots of people actually speaking rather than just at the head table looking at them. To make it easier for this, on this particular motion, I would like to ask, or the chair would like to ask, if those people who possibly can do so come to the lectern and speak from there, so they are in the wide shot. We have received the report of the F9 committee. You should have this handout. It is 3 pages long in the English version. It consists of the first 2 pages, which is the report of the committee itself, which is a replacement. It is a replacement for the version that was in the original agenda. Sorry? Let us pause then to get these documents out to everyone.
So I mentioned there is no Chinese translation.
Oh, I didn't see that. Okay, that may make it a little harder.
大家谁手上没有的话，可以示意我。
谢谢。好，这一块。
This is rather complicated. Okay. This is complicated even for experienced business meeting people. What we have received is a committee report, which is the first 2 pages in English, and then a proposed replacement for the committee report. And then whatever we end up choosing between these two, we have to decide if we want to replace the version that was in the agenda with that report. And then when we finally reach that point, we vote yes or no on whichever version has made it that far.
这里我们现在手头有3个版本，我不知道大家有没有都拿到这个3页的这个修正的这个会提出的这个版本，大家可以看一下。如果有没有的话，可以在跟我们这边现场监督姚老师再要一下。就是我们这边有3个不同的版本。第一个版本呢是在我们这个3页纸的前2页是第一个版本，然后在这个3页纸这个普及法报告的第3页是第2个版本。那这2个呢，首先会有一些差异，我们会要在这2个之间做一个选择。然后的话呢，我们在原来的大家可以看一下，就是这份原来议程里面还有一个之前的这个 F9的标题，所以说我们最后要在这3个里面去做一个选择，所以说会有点复杂。
I have been reminded by the secretary that I was not precise in my wording. The first 2 pages are the actual of this, are the committee's report. In addition, the 3rd page is a minority report. It is not the committee's report, it is an alternative proposal from a minority of the committee.
其实这个就是这个3页的补充报告里面呢，还就是在刚才这个文字表上面不是特别的准确，就是前2页的这个呢是委员会的一个报告，然后呢第3页就是最后这一页上是委员会当中的少部分人重新做的一个修正的版本。
Does the chair of the F9 committee want to make a speech, to talk to this before we try to work through them? Yes. Mr. Eastlake.
I'd just like to sort of describe at a higher level what this material is. The committee report describes an amendment to the Constitution which would add a general facility for regional science fiction conventions. It generalizes the language in the Constitution and provides that new regional science fiction conventions could be created for a specified list of countries by vote of the business meeting, and also the list of countries for a particular regional science fiction convention could be rectified or adjusted by the business meeting. And it really uses the references to NASFIC. There is still a definition of North America. Other than that, isn't there. So after this was, if the committee report was adopted, it would then be possible to create an Asian science fiction convention by vote of the business meeting. I think that's a reasonable summary. There's also a minority report. Yes, okay. Donald Eastlake, this guy, is a known troublemaker. He submitted a minority report. And the minority report is based more closely on the text of F9 in the agenda. The minority report is also a motion to amend the Constitution. And the motion actually is presented in two parts on the third page here. The first part basically changes the Constitution to generalize it, typically by replacing Worldcon or NASFIC, and all the instances of Worldcon and NASFIC, replacing that sort of thing by selected convention. So after the first part, if the first part was adopted and ratified and became part of the Constitution, the Constitution would then accommodate the removal of NASFIC or the addition of NASFIC or things like that without having to have those things changed. It would no longer be this enumerated list in those instances. And the second part of this motion from the minority basically adds material to what is in F9 in the agenda. It adds to it in F9 in the agenda a change to the purposes of the society, section 122, so as to include ASFIC. And it changes the ASFIC material in the agenda to define Asia, and it adds a sunset proviso material in the agenda. I think that's a reasonable summary of the minority report.
Yes, in addition, the chair rules that should that end up being what goes forward, the provision would apply not just to section 4X5, but also to the phrase being added to section 1.2, just for consistency's sake. Because if it sunsets, it takes, it takes the references with it.
Yes, basically this incorporates the existing agenda text for F9 by reference. So you change 1.2, the existing F.9 text, the additional 4.x.5, all of that is limited sunset.
The process we will follow is to first consider the report of the F9 committee and to see if the meeting has any changes they want to make to this. Once we have considered any changes, we will then look at the minority report and see if the meeting has any changes they wish to make to that. We will then vote between those two to see which one will we accept as the committee's report. And once we have done that, we will take whichever comes out of this and decide whether we want to consider what's in the agenda originally or whatever came out of this. And then, and only then, will we vote on whether to adopt it as a constitutional amendment. The chair is aware this is really complicated. If any of you become confused, please interrupt and ask about it. I want people to know what they are voting on before they vote on it. Yes.
我们刚才说了，就是这个过程会有点复杂，所以说我们再重复一下，就是以免有些人可能还，尤其是现在在场的一些我们中国的一些人还没有特别清楚。就是我们现在首先来看我们这个3页的补充报告的这个前2页，看有没有任何修正，然后去进行一个投票。然后的话呢，后续会再看第3页，就是这个少数派报告，我们在这2个当中做一个选择。然后的话呢，我们再在这个得出的一个版本当中，去跟我们原有的议程上这样的一个图统标题去做一个决策。那最后的话呢，如果说在这个过程当中真的确实有点复杂，如果有人有任何的疑问，请大家随时打断我们，然后问清楚我们现在到底投票的内容是什么，以免有错误的这种判断，好吧？
Thank you. First, we have the first 2 pages of the report on F9 committee. Does anyone wish to offer amendments to this version? Would the members stand, have a microphone brought to them, say your name, etc.?
My name is Carolina Gomstorp. I have got a question about this region. If it's so that it is not any limit how many countries or how few countries a region is. So it could be that the Nordic countries of Sweden, Denmark, Finland could have one bid, and France have another one, and the United States have another one if the Worldcon is in Asia.
It does appear to be that way because the business meeting could define regions on the fly, so to speak. Well, Yasser, would you? So, actually, okay, hang on a second. You'll yield to that. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so yes, but there's only one confusion. You said France and USA, and the wording says countries. So no region can have one country. So France cannot own its own region, but France with some other country can decide that they want to propose to the business meeting a region.
Yes, a region would have to consist of at least 2 countries.
Legally, there's still one country, even if they don't like it.
So let's see if it is clarified that if the United States is kind of excluded, that there can be only one. It is considered as one country, one region. But if there are different regions within the country.
I don't think so. The it says countries. Okay, and even right now, NASFIC includes multiple countries. As we know, the most recent NASFIC was held in Canada, and the last I checked, Canada was a different country than the United States. Okay. Does that answer your questions? Let's proceed then. Are there any other people who wish to ask questions or about this, or, well, hang on a moment.
Still Benialo. Am I correct then that, for example, if, say, Belgium and Luxembourg decided they wanted to form a regional convention, they could do so, and therefore gain essentially a permanent position on the Market Protection Committee by having 2 tiny countries pick it, or for that matter, San Marino and Monaco deciding that they are a region and then effectively getting a permanent position on the Market Protection Committee because all the regions are represented on the Market Protection Committee. Is that correct?
I call on Yasser, I want to ask a question. Are there just as a show of hands, are there other people who are considering asking questions of the makers of this motion? Just raise your hand if you think you plan to ask. The reason I asked that question is because if there are more, I was going to ask Yasser to come up and sit and talk from the lectern. Okay, Yasser, if you would answer the member's question.
So technically yes, but again they have to have passed the business meeting first. So we have to propose once. We could amend it to add a similar procedure to remove a region, but then that would create a different set of issues. Or we could remove all the regionals from the mark protection committee altogether.
All right, and the members are reminded not to speak to each other directly. Are there any other questions or proposals to change this?
因为区域的定义相对比较的不太清晰，然后刚才也提到了各种问题，我也建议呢是否我们把区域更改成为洲际。谢谢。
The proposal, yeah, I think you're going to have to stand up here. The proposal appears to be to ask that regional be changed to continental, and would you like to address that?
I think if we get all the questions, maybe they overlap, so I can just answer it.
Okay, let's try that. Let's take the next question and we'll see if they could be answered all at once.
下图见，尊敬的主席，关于刚刚提到的将地区更改为洲际的提议，我认为这个提法不妥，因为刚刚提到了，包括像北河路地区和其他地区这样的，在州一级以下或者跨州级的跨州的这个科幻大会呢，也是可以通过 ASFIC 这个机制来进行举办的。如果直接更改为州或洲际这个词，有可能会对这样的这个小区域型的这种科幻大会产生限制。因此我提议是在这个现有的新增地区性科幻大会的相关提案下面明确说明地区的定义及刚刚所提到的地区应至少包括一个以上的国家或政治实体地区这样的提议。谢谢。
All right, we have now gotten to the point where we were debating a proposed change.
Any other question? Because he asked if it wasn't
clear. Yeah, I understand some of that, but the problem is we've got an original, effectively an amendment. Did the member wish to move to action with the earlier member wish to formally amend this proposal to strike out regional and insert continental? Did you want to move that as a motion to change it?
诚实，好，我不会再做这个提议，谢谢。
The member has withdrawn the proposed amendment, so we were back to the question about regional. First, the chair, in the chair's judgment, the wording of countries requires that any region that is defined by a motion of a business meeting would have to consist of at least 2 countries. A single country could not be a region all by itself. So it would be 2 or more countries are a region, defined as the business meeting declares it. Now, if you'd like to address the underlying issue.
Okay. So, the underlying issue of not being specific, the points 4.81, 4.82 clearly defines the process of defining what a region is. So, yes, if you just look at the first pages where the first change where it says regions, it might be confusing, but then when you get to 4.81 and 4.82, it clearly shows the process of how you define each region.
seems to be a reasonable interpretation as far as the chair is concerned. All right, are there any further questions about just the main committee report? You did one then, I'm going to give it back to Carolina. You couldn't see she stood up. Okay. Carolina.
Yes, Carolina. I wonder, is it possible to change the regions? You say, if you have established a region, is that permanently, or then can it be changed to concern other countries?
4.82. Yes, 4.8.2 says that any WSFIS member can file motions at the business meeting to rectify, that would be to amend or change, the countries of a RISFIC, and such filing must have a clear list of the countries to be served by that specific RISFIC, so that if a region was defined and a future business meeting wanted to, it could change that region by a new motion. It would not be a constitutional amendment to do so. It could be it could be done in 1 year at the business meeting. And now, was there anybody else who wanted to speak? Mr. Yao.
Am I correct that by the presiding officer's interpretation, Australia, although a continent, would not qualify as a region?
Yes, that is correct. It has to be one, or it has to be two or more countries. Yep. Is there anyone else who wishes to ask questions or propose changes to the F9 committee report, the first 2 pages of this document? The chair hears none, and therefore it's not adopted, but we have settled upon the wording of what this report is, and we will move on to looking at the alternative wording submitted as the minority report. Mr. Eastlake, I have a feeling I may need you to simply just answer questions, and would ask you to take the left turn. There you go. Is there anyone who wishes to suggest or to make changes or to ask questions about the minority report, the third and final page of the handout that we received? If not, then that is taken to be the wording that we will consider as the alternative. All right. Now we get to decide which of the 2 versions moves forward to the next round of voting. The question is whether we want to consider the F9, the first 2 pages, the original committee report, or the minority report. Who would like to speak in favor of using the F9's original report? Yasser, you may if you wish. You have you have first chance as the leader of the.
Yes, I think that the original spirit of F9 was to be more inclusive of Asia, and therefore my proposed amendment was to make it more inclusive for the world. I understand there are some concerns, I'll just address the concern you said about the MARC committee. Is like, even if 2 small countries in 1 year pass in the region, as per the 4.8.2, if you think that is unfair, you can always add more countries to that region, and therefore give more countries that spot rather than just 2 small countries. But other than that, I think this is a very inclusive format that does not deprive the fans of NASDAQ from their NASDAQ, but also allows the rest of the world to have a similar connection to the world. Thank you.
The next is someone speaking in favor of adopting the minority report overall. Mr. Eastlake.
I guess I would just like to say that the minority report takes a more cautious approach to this. And rather than just opening things very widely, it allows one additional regional convention for Asia, and it actually actually does not provide that in Francis mentioned would have a Market Protection Committee representative on the idea that if it is successful, works well, and if it passes the sunset, gets re-ratified later, then that would be plenty of time to add a capability for it to appoint a Market Protection Committee member. So I think that this is a more targeted and cautious approach.
Before I proceed, how much debate time remains?
Minutes and 20 seconds.
Okay. Thank you. We would like, is there someone who wishes to speak in favor of the original F9 committee report, the 2-page portion? I'd like to give people, this is debate between the two, I thought. Someone in favor of the first 2 pages of the F9 page.
陈实啊，那个主席，有个问题就是，等会儿在大家做选择的时候，能否用更明确的一个词汇？比如说，我们可以说赞成前2页的这一个版本，和赞成第3页的版本，来进行一个区分。
By the way, that was a neutral inquiry, so you can take it off of both sides, yes. The question was, when you come to vote, will I say vote in favor of the first 2 pages or of the 3rd page? That's probably as clear as I can make it. All right, we are at the point where we are looking for someone to speak in favor of the first 2 pages. Anyone? Carolina, please stand up.
I think that the construction to have an ASFIC in the beginning was kind of strange. In this way, it is opening up to other countries. I don't know if this is going to be popular or not, but at least I think it makes it neutral, so it's not only ASFIC. So I think it is a good alternative.
Next would be a speech in favor of adopting the 3rd page as the minority report. Mr. McCarty.
There is considerable sentiment and growing sentiment to unwind NASFIC from WSIS. As such, I think tying thought of an Asian regional convention to NASFIC and making it a regional thing and opening it for other regions is a mistake. So I would prefer the second. Solution, as it makes things clean. There is a NASFIC, there is an ASFIC, and if other regions wish to do it, they can make their proposal to do it.
Next would be a speech in favor of the first 2 pages. Seeing none, is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of these? Oh, did you want to speak in favor of the first 2 pages? Yeah. I'm not there. You okay? All right. I'm going to call the person behind you. Okay, you can't see behind you, of course. Speech in favor of the 3rd page. Yes. Please stand up and you.
前2页还是第3页？ Okay.
First 2 pages. Okay, well, first 2 pages. Okay, so he did have priority then. Okay, first 2 pages. Because no one spoke in favor of the first 2 pages when I asked initially. Okay. All right. Yes. There.
Yes. 夏主任，对这个主席我们需要注意到的是，在目前亚太科幻大会 Asia-Pacific Science Fiction Convention, or it called another climate science fiction convention. 亚太科幻大会现在已经为跨地域甚至跨洲际性的科幻大会开创了一个良好的先例。我们认为这个亚太科幻大会已经足够成熟，可以成为为 ASFIC 提供一个有力的参考，所以没有必要再重新设立一个新的亚洲科幻大会来为其他地区的区域性科幻大会做准备。我们认为，如果想要更好的在全世界范围内推广科幻文化的话， 应该尽可能的让全世界的每一个地区都能够有科幻迷参与的这种科幻大会或者说科幻聚会。所以呢，我觉得我们应该大胆的向前迈进一步，朝着ASFIC这个更好的目标去迈进。谢谢。
All right, next is a speech in favor of the third page. Mr. Yao.
Still Ben Yao, this time. As we saw from the discussion earlier, the first two-page alternative allows people with a little bit of practice to game the system rather heavily. The second alternative, i.e. the third page, is clean and doesn't let people game the system. And while I enjoy the thought of being able to have a system in place that I can game, deep down in my heart, I think that having it is a bad idea, and we should have as ungameable a system as possible.
All right, a speech in favor of the first two pages. A speech in favor of the third page, yes.
Wrestling，因为我们认为在把世界科幻大会的这个体系进行一个扩充，实际上是需要比较谨慎的。比如说我们亚洲现在已经拥有了超过40个国家和地区，超过全球60%的人口。亚洲有大量的一个幻迷群体，在中国、日本、韩国、印度等地都有大量的科幻社群，也在各地开展了各种规模、类型不一的科幻活动。我们也看到，就以本次中国的这次活动为例，幻迷对参与世界科幻大会体系下面的各种展览、沙龙等活动拥有非常大的激情。鉴于世界科幻大会过去81年来只有2次来到亚洲，我们想不应该再等待这么长的时间，所以我们提议按照世界科幻大会的组织体系，借鉴北美科幻大会的组织模式，在世界科幻大会不在亚洲举办的时候，去举办亚洲科幻大会。鉴于刚才提到的一个在中国已经有一个亚太科幻大会的这么一个情况，我与亚太科幻大会的组织者就是季少廷也沟通过。首先，亚太科幻大会呢，它是仅在中国举办的，这是第一个。然后第二个呢，它的官方名字也不能用亚太科幻大会。然后第三个，就是它的组织模式，虽然它是一个很好的大会，但是它的组织模式和世界科幻大会的 ASFIC 体系有极大的不同。对，这就是我想说的，谢谢。
Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the first two pages? I can come back to you, yes, or if nobody else wants to speak. Hearing nobody else, no, you already spoke for once. Since nobody who hasn't spoken in favor of the first two pages has spoke, Yasser, you get one more chance.
Yes, I'm Yasser Bajit. I just want to address what my colleague just said. The proposal for the first two pages still allows for an ASFIC, which seems to feel that is his main concern. That the wording does not allow it. The wording does not specify ASFIC, but it allows someone to propose in the business meeting, creating the ASFIC, and then giving approval for it then and there. Thank you.
All right, a speech in favor of the third page, and I believe you. Did you wish to speak on this? Somebody back there. Yes. I knew there was somebody back there. If you could stand up.
主席您好，第一个议题里提到的区域科幻大会，是否会出现有非常多的区域申请相关的大会？是否会造成我们世界科幻大会举办时序上的一些困扰？那么，从而影响了本身世界科幻大会的举行。所以我不赞成第一条。 谢谢。
报上名字。
不好意思，我叫唐冰莹。
Thank you. That was the date. In favor that was a speech in favor of the minority report. Is there anyone else who still wishes to speak in favor of the first 2 pages? Is there anybody? I'm sorry, I'm going too fast. Is there anybody who wishes to speak in favor of the 3rd page? Hearing none, we will. There is one. Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. McCarty, you walked right in front of him when he was raising his hand.
I got skills.
Name, please. Name, please.
Oui, it's okay. 我叫刘红轩，然后为了表达的意思准确，然后我就用中文来表述我的意见了。然后我觉得这个事情还是应该更加审慎一点，因为我是基于本次科幻大会的一个举办的体验出发，确实就是本次科幻大会就引起了一些争议，也对我的自己的参会体验来说没有那么的圆满。所以如果说把它弄成一个区域性的会议的话，我会很怀疑就是在其他地区举办区域性科幻大会，它的承办能力、它的举办的情况。然后如果说举办的是一场灾难的话，那么会对那个区域的对应的一些科幻迷产生一些打击和影响。如果说用前2页的表述的话，会导致一些区域性的科幻大会可能会办，但是会办的没有那么好，然后会对整个品牌的声誉造成一些影响。然后通过这种增加亚洲科幻大会的方式，我认为是一种更加谨慎的方式，然后认为一个区域有能力来承办这件事情，再去支持它，然后而不是就是每一个区域都可以自己去决定自己要不要办科幻大会。我觉得这是一种对品牌和科幻迷都是一种保护。好，谢谢。
Before we continue, the chair wishes to make it more clear that any regional convention, ASFIC, NASFIC, or anything defined under the first 2 pages is not a world science fiction convention. It is categorically not a Worldcon. The NASFIC is not a Worldcon, the existing event. It is a, if you like, a smaller or lesser grade or a subordinate, if you like, event. It is called a regional convention, NASFIC, ASFIC, or whatever you want to call it. But it is not Worldcon, and it may not call itself a Worldcon. I believe we have exhausted the debate in this respect. We've covered all the grounds. It's merely a case of choosing between one or the other. Therefore, I am about to put a vote on whether to adopt the report, the first 2 pages, or the 3rd page. That doesn't pass it finally, it just determines which one we will go forward with to the next stage, which is to determine whether to substitute it into the original agenda item. Mr. Gallo, are you trying to get my attention? If you are, stand up.
Am I correct that what this is a formal motion to take the majority report and amend by substituting the minority report, in which case in a tie it fails?
Yes, in a technical sense, and this, for the benefit of those who know exactly what the rules say, this is a vote on, eventually, it's a vote on whether to adopt the minorities report as the report of the committee. However, the chair is going to put the motion in form of those in favor of the original report and those who are in favor of the substitute. Should the vote be a tie, the original report would stand. The first 2 pages would stand if it's a tie. Is there anyone else wishing to ask procedural questions who do not understand what we are about to vote on? Would all of those who favor the original report of the F9 committee, which is the first 2 pages of the report, raise your hands? Oh, actually, hang on, hands down, please. The chair has asked me to explain this because of its complexity. Thank you.
我想再跟大家解释一下，就是我们现在要举行的，就是我们接下来要举行的是，在我们的这3页补充报告的前2页和第3页之间去先进行第1轮的投票，然后在这2份报告决定了哪一份通过之后，之后还会有跟之前的这个原始的这个议程上面这个再去做第2轮，好吧？希望大家在投票之前先明确我们现在到底投票的是什么，谢谢。
Question. Procedural question, microphone please. Stand up please.
夏子健，考虑到接下来这个2份投票，这个可能比较复杂，我提议采用蛇形投票，而不是举手表决。谢谢。
The chair has no problem with conducting a serpentine vote. The first question, the first thing we are voting on is, do you prefer the original report of the F9 committee, which is page F2? If you prefer this version, please stand for a serpentine vote. We will, as we've done before, we'll start on this side, go to the back of the room, and then start the other side. Count, starting with you.
1.
Now sit down.
2.
3, 4, 5.
Is there anyone else wishing to vote? All those in favor of the substitute, which is the 3rd page, please stand. And while the chair sees that this is clearly conclusive, I was asked formally to do this as a serpentine vote, and therefore I'm going to ask you to count off, starting with you, Kellen. Yes.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11.
12.
10 was what I heard back there. Is that correct? 10?
No.
There was an 11 in the back?
There were 2.
Okay, I see it. 11 was the last count over. 12.
13.
Wait. 17? Yeah, that's okay. 17.
20, 22, 23, 24, 25.
26.
27.
Anyone else?
因为就是对于蛇形投票有一些这个我们部分的会员可能不是特别熟悉，所以我再跟大家解释一下。所以我们在站起来的时候要先报数，报完数之后再坐下。因为我刚才看到好像有人就是没有报数就先坐下了，这样有可能会导致我们票数接近情况下会有一些误记。所以请大家在接下来的蛇形投票或者说站立表决当中务必注意这一点，先报数然后再坐下，谢谢。
On this vote, there are 27 in favor of the substitute, third page, and 5 in favor of the original report. The minority report is adopted as the report of the committee. It is not completely passed yet because we now have to work on whether we adopt this or we move this one forward, or do we stick with what was originally in the agenda. For this, I have to find the page in the original agenda. Is there something? All right, we have completely run out of time, and the chair proposes another 10 minutes to consider this. Is there any objection to act all time has been expired on this? Is there any objection to adding 10 minutes of further debate time? Hearing none, we set the clock back to 10 minutes total. Thank you. Item F9 in your original agenda, page 20 in most of the handouts. That is the original version presented to the meeting. The committee has proposed substituting the item marked minority report, or page 3. Mr. Yallow.
Procedural question. Since the original F9 was turned over to the committee, I believe that, in fact, the report that came out of the committee is automatically substituted because F9 in its original form doesn't exist on the agenda of the main business meeting anymore, and therefore what comes out is the committee report.
The chair recognizes this to be an interesting parliamentary question. However, in a technical sense, the meeting can still control what it sent there, and this was in the form of, essentially, the committee was proposing as a substitute for what was sent to them, and therefore the meeting has to decide whether they wanted the original version or what they got out of the committee. I don't think this one is that hard. I hope it isn't. Therefore, we are choosing between the original version of F.9 or the thing labeled minority report that was page 3. Is there anyone who wishes to debate between the two? Or is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the original version that was in the agenda as F9? Microphone and...
Yes, I just want to ask now, since past the previous phase, I think there are some minor changes that should happen on this to work as a substitute for mine. I'm not sure if it is procedurally possible or not.
You can move amendments to the version that was in the original agenda.
I mean, to the one that came from the committee.
Yeah, the committee. Ordinarily, we would have done that at the previous stage, but because I've basically made this yet another A or B decision, when we get to looking at it, yes, we could consider amendments to the alternative, the page 3 version. Because you want to make changes to the page, what we just have.
My only concern is there's, in the original Constitution, ASFIC is mentioned a few times, specifically on the financial reporting and whatnot. So if this effectively creates an ASFIC, even if temporarily, then it should, I presume, have similar treatment in the clauses of financial reporting to the business meeting.
Yes, Mr. Eastlake, could you address this issue?
That is intended to be taken care of by the first part of the minority support motion. They will mention generalization. does include updates to the financial openness clause and a general substitution for references to ASFIC.
I missed that. Thank you. And even though Mr. Eastlake told me that earlier, I missed it. So, yes. Well, the question was, do we need to go through and change all of the things that NASFIC is referred to? If the so-called page 3 version is what we decide to proceed with, do we have to go change NASFIC everywhere it is, and the portions of that are dealt with the first of the 2 changes that are in that document? The question is, do we wish to consider any changes to any further changes, because there are none actually, on the original proposal as printed in the agenda? Is there anybody who wishes to speak in favor of the original proposal that was in the printed agenda? Is there anybody who wishes to speak in favor of what is labeled minority report, the page 3 document that we discussed? Yes. Please.
主席您好，我是原第3条原 F9 的提案人，我撤回我自己个人的提案。目前我更支持最新版本的，也就是第3页的这个版本的提案，因为这个修改将使我们的章程修改更加的干净整洁，且也达到了相应的我们需要去调整的内容，所以我赞成第3页这个版本，谢谢。不好意思，我叫唐冰莹，谢谢。
Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the original language? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the revised document labeled Minority Report, page 3 document? Any other one wanting to speak at all on this? Right. In that case, the question before us is whether to keep the original version that was at F.9 or to replace it with the minority report, after which we will then consider, finally, whether we should adopt it at all overall. Any questions about what we are about to vote on? I would like to try a show of hands on this. All those in favor of keeping the original proposal, raise your hands. All those in favor of accepting the substitute proposal as the business before the meeting, raise your hands. Hands down. The affirmative has it unanimously, and the document that is now finally before the meeting substantively to be discussed is the single page labeled Minority Report by Donald Eastlake, which is actually 2 constitutional amendments. You want to divide it? Yeah. The chair has heard a request to divide the question, which is to mean to consider the 2 separately. The chair rules this does not need a vote. It is the 2 items are actually sufficiently different from each other that a single person can request they be divided. They are completely separable and independent of each other. The first question, so therefore we'll take them one at a time. Okay. F9A is a proposal that would change all of the specific references to Worldcon or NASFIC in the financial openness clause to refer only to, or to apply to any conventions selected by WSFIS. That currently includes Worldcon and NASFIC, but it could refer to other conventions should we create other conventions. Yes? What's the question?
Can we reverse the order of consideration for these two items, since if we are not adopting the actual change, this would be essentially a moot point?
One, we could, but two, the chair does not consider it a moot point. It would, I mean, it may not make any difference from what we currently have now, but it would leave the constitutional language general for the future. And it doesn't. You understand? All right, we will continue to consider these one at a time. Another question, then?
It's not mute because if you go the other way around and you vote ASFIC first, and then vote for whatever reason not to do the First Amendment, then ASFIC would not be required to financially report.
The member has a good point. It is really quite important whether we decide the first one before we decide the second. It's better, more important than I realized, so the chair stands corrected on this. Is there any debate of any sort? Is there anyone in favor, or is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor? Anyone who wishes to speak against? In favor, okay. Yes, yeah. Okay, I speak in favor of just F.9.A.
Again, as per all my speeches before, this opens up the possibility and inclusivity for future Worldcons for future cons across the globe, from fans all over the world to be part of this list, rather than right now it's only allowing the North American. So having the wording that is inclusive and allows and is generalistic gives opportunity for future business meetings to start adding more events as we're discussing the point B.
Is there anyone who wishes to speak against adopting F9A only? Is there any objection to proceeding to a vote now? Very well. This is a vote to adopt F.9.A and only that section, the top half of this page, to adopt that as a constitutional amendment and send it on to next year's Worldcon.
这里我需要再解释一下啊，因为现在还是会稍微有一点复杂。就是现在我们已经回到了我们这个补充报告、解释报告的这个第3页上，但是大家可以看一下，第3页上有上下 A 和 B 2个不同的条款，所以我们现在讨论的，我们现在表决的是 F9A 的这个条款，然后我们现在先讨论 F9A， 接下来后续我们再去讨论 F9B， 大家清楚吗？如果有不清楚的可以再提问，谢谢。
Very well. All those who are in favor of adopting F9A as a constitutional amendment to be passed on to next year's Worldcon, raise your hands. Hands down. All those opposed, raise your hands. This is adopted by show of hands unanimously. It will be passed forward to next year's business meeting for ratification. How much time remains in debate? 9? Yes. Oh wow, oh we were going faster than I thought. Of course a lot of it wasn't actually debate, that's why. The question before us is F9B, establishment of ASFIC, creating an Asian science fiction convention and including definitions of what Asia means and including a sunset clause. Oh, yes. It's the this is the minority report. Yeah, F9A, establishment of ASFIC, and it would create an ASFIC, an Asian Science Fiction Convention. I first would like to, are there questions technical about it as opposed to debate? All right, very well.
这个主席您好，现在有这样的问题，就是根据 F.9.B 相关的表述，它提到的是在原第4点后面再增加这个相关的内容。因此，我想请问的是，是不是这意味着原 F.9新增加入各万大会的4.X.1到4.X.4的内容也会被一并通过吗？如果您回答也会被一并通过，那么我提议将原4.X 解亚洲通万大会的从4.X.1到4.X.5的5条条款全部进行分别表决，因为这5条条款各自有各自的问题需要解答，有可能会对整个亚洲科幻大会的选举程序产生不同的重大影响。谢谢。
The original proposal, F.9, on page 20 of your agendas, was replaced with this proposal. That version with the clauses 4.x, 1, 2, 3, and 4 is not before the meeting. It was replaced with this as the proposal. Therefore, there is no reason to go through those points one at a time. They are not before the meeting. Well, no, it just says to add the following material. The numbering, oh, okay, this is the confusing part, yes. The numbers, the section numbers and article numbers in the Constitution are not substantive. The secretary of the meeting will clean up the numbering if it passes, and also renumber and change all the references. The fact that this says 4.x.5 just really says add a new section at around 4.x whatever. So it doesn't really matter that it says 4.x.5. It would be to add a new section, a new subsection in Article 4 of the Constitution. Is that, do you understand? Are we okay?
您刚才这位提问的会员，你有理解到这个解释吗？理解吗？
The chair has no intention of running over roughshod on people. I want everyone to understand what we are voting on and discussing. That is going to mean we go slow sometimes, and I thank the meeting's indulgence on this. All right, where were we? We've had a speech in favor. Ah, yes. That wasn't a speech, again, we don't even have a speech in favor. A speech in favor of F9B, and Mr. Eastlake, I believe, would be the.
Sure. F9B would establish the ASFIC, and I just wanted to speak to point out that if you look at the F9B, it says also who's making the changes in item F9 from the agenda. So actually, all the 4.x.1234 in the agenda are logically part of this. I hadn't thought of the way that we printed and you all fit on one page. So I believe that in some sense those paragraphs are for the body. I don't think it's necessary to consider them separately, and I think this does what was intended by for the establishment of the ASFIC with the improvements of the sunset clause.
The chair sits corrected. I apologize, the member's original question over here is correct. What we are now voting on basically is all of the things at 4x through 4x3, and was there 4 on the next page? 4x4, and then also 4x5. You are all correct, and the chair got lost. We've got it, we have add all these. Now, on the other hand, I agree. I do not believe that it is necessary to vote on each one of these items individually. I believe it is a single proposal organically, especially because we've adopted the minority report. All right. Did you wish to make a request to change the wording of one of the sections in the original 4x through 4x4? You wanted to change some of the wording, is that correct?
4.X.1仅大会管理会员，也就是以英文表述的 only members of the administering convention. Administering members of the administering, 也就是管理会员这个表述呢，至少在今年的成都世界科幻大会和以往的世界科幻大会中很少出现，所以我本人对这一个词的含义不理解，我请求主席或者该提案的提案者对这个词的含义给出解释。如果这个词认为没有意义的话，我建议把这个直接用大会会员加以替代。谢谢。
It is important because what it means is to give a specific example that happened this year with NASTIC, because I had to work with it. This would work also with NASTIC, so it doesn't matter. This year, there was the need to choose a NASTIC for next year, because there is no Worldcon in North America next year, and we choose NASTIC 1 year in advance. There was a NASTIC this year, and therefore this year's NASTIC's members voted on where to hold next year's NASTIC. Had there not been a NASTIC, because in that case that would have meant there was a Worldcon somewhere in North America, then the members of the Worldcon this year would have chosen the site of the NASTIC next year. This wording means that in a year when the election to hold an ASTIC, should it be needed, if there is no ASTIC in the year in which the election is held, then the Worldcon holds that election. But if there is an ASTIC happening in the year in which you have to hold an election to select an ASTIC, then that ASTIC would choose the ASTIC, and not the members of the Worldcon. The member can attempt to. I mean, people get confused by NASTIC as it is. Sorry.
So, the Worldcon is a replacement for any other that it falls under. So, if the Worldcon is in America, then it is effectively a NASDAQ, more or less.
Yes, even though, from voting, even though it's
from
not
a voting point of view, because it is in North America. So it will have to be the same thing. So if there's a Worldcon in Asia, then that Worldcon is the one that's voting where the Asian event is going to happen. If there's no Worldcon in Asia, then the Asian event is voting where the Asian event is happening.
Yeah, I believe that's one way to look at it, yeah. I know this is difficult, it is a little convoluted, but what it's intended to do is give ASFICs the right to vote on future ASFICs if they happen to be happening at the time the election would go on. Let's try it. There's more question on this.
尊敬的主席您好，感谢您刚才对我问题的答复。我现在提出一个修改4.x.1的提议，将大会管理会员原本的 members of administration 那个句更改为大会会员，亚洲科幻大会会员，亚洲科幻大会会员。因为管理会员这个词在目前世界科幻大会、北美科幻大会从未出现过，我们不清楚这个管理会员是什么含义。谢谢。
Recognizing where the member is trying to go with this, the chair rules the motion out of order, and the reason is because if you made this change, you would find points where there was no convention that could legally hold the election. If you specifically named the ASFIC, you would have a time where there is nobody qualified to hold the election. Because ASFIC is not going to happen every year. It can't. Let us say there was an ASFIC, let's give an specific example. These rules are in effect. Got it? You do it.
这个部员，那不好意思，刚刚您的这个提议是不合规的。原因在于亚洲科幻大会，首先就是它并不是每一年都会举办。那如果说改成亚洲科幻大会的会员投票的话，那就不是每年都有办法去投票。你明白这个意思吗？所以说我们会坚持，就是您的这个提议不合规，然后我们会仍然保留之前的 wording。谢谢您的理解。
And the chair observes this indirect language about administering convention, which exists already for monastics, is there precisely because the monastic is not held every year. Okay. Yeah, I mean, are there anyone else that want to propose changes to the wording, which would be anything in the 4x through 4x4 or 4x5 or the provisions? Mr. McCarty, did you want to debate it or make changes?
I want to call the question.
Hang on a second. Have we had at least one speaker in favor and opposed? No, in that case. Yeah, then I can't call the question. All right. Okay, you've spoken in favor of it, I believe. Is there anyone who wishes to speak against the proposal? Is there any objection to ending the debate and bringing this to a vote? Hearing none. The question is on whether to adopt the revised F.9, which is the sections 4.x through 4.x.4 as originally printed in the agenda, plus 4.x.5 and the provisions in the page 3 discussed earlier. Yes?
Section 1.2.
Oh, and to add section 1.2, yes, thank you very much. I was so focused on that, yeah. And also to add the changes, add the words to section 1.2. Before I take a vote, is there anyone who does not know what we are voting on and wants to know? If you don't know, raise your hand. Yes, you do.
说明一下，就是我们接下来要投票的内容呢，是针对我们原始议程上面这个 F9短标题下面的第4点 X 节、4.1、4.2、4.3、4.4加上我们现在这个补充的这个少数派报告的 F.9点 B。这下面有一个1.2和这个4.5，就是所有的这些内容一起进行接下来的表决。如果还有不清楚的，请提问。
李琦先生，那现在我可以发给的条对这个提案表示反对的部分意见。
Yes. A speech against is in. I'll take that because I called for it. You just may have not have realized I was calling for the speech against. Go, please do.
尊敬的主席，还有各位会员，大家好。下面我开始陈述我对新增亚洲科幻大会这一 F.9整个提案的反对意见。必须强调的是，原提案中强调了亚洲作为一个占世界61%人口的地区，拥有庞大的科幻迷群体和比较著名的科幻作家，为其举办世界科幻大会的必要性。但是，首先我们仍然需要看到的是，目前在中国、日本等其他国家已经举办了很多规模比较大的科幻活动。包括我刚才所提到的亚太科幻大会或另一颗星球科幻大会，以及其他类型的科幻大会。这些科幻大会运行体系比较成熟，尽管它们可能与现行的世界科幻大会体系存在一些差异，但是这些科幻大会已经足够为亚洲地区的科幻交流，特别是科幻迷的交流提供足够的桥梁。我们认为，如果现在立即举办一个亚洲科幻大会，很有可能会造成这些大会之间的冲突。注意，不是和世界科幻大会的冲突，而是和在该地区举行的其他类型的科幻活动的冲突。第二，我们注意到该提案的提案人大部分来自本次大会的组委会，但是我们又需要指出的是，本次大会的提案人也好，还有大会的参会者也好，尚不能完全和充分地代表整个亚洲地区的意见。正如我们刚才所说，亚洲是一个占世界人口61%的地区，有着数十个国家，以及非常非常庞大的科幻迷群体。要提出举办亚洲科幻大会，是在某种程度上要代表这些科幻迷，代表这些国家的科幻迷，在世界舞台上发出他们对于科幻文学的见解和看法。而目前，针对亚洲科幻大会的相关讨论尚不十分充分，大量的讨论者基本来自于中国、日本、印度、韩国等少数几个国家。我们还没有充分地听取亚洲其他国家和地区科幻作家、科幻产业工作者以及科幻迷对举办亚洲科幻大会的意见。尽管今天的事务会议已经有很多人来到现场，但我认为与亚洲这么庞大的一个地区相比，在事务会议上立即做出这样的决议是有不妥当之处。第三，我们需要注意到，在目前亚洲已经有这么多地区、这么多类型的科幻活动下，工作人员以及承办者、承办城市的压力是非常大的。比如说，我们首先注意到的是，世界科幻大会目前只有2个亚洲国家承办，这并不易。自然，这可能是因为以往的世界科幻大会在某些程度上是缺乏一定的足够的包容性的，使得一些亚洲国家不能足够承办。但同时，这也客观地反映出了亚洲的很多国家和地区尚不具备举办这么大规模的科幻活动的能力。如果我们现在就开始举办亚洲科幻大会，那么大家可以预见到的是，接下来的亚洲科幻大会很有可能会在亚洲的少数几个国家和少数几个城市反复举行，比如成都。我在本次大会举行期间和举行之前，和参加这次大会的科幻迷以及志愿者以及大会工作人员有过非常多的接触，他们都表示，为了这次世界科幻大会能够办好，他们已经付出了相当大的辛苦、心血和努力。 很多人非常劳累。比如说，在前2天，已经有这个我认识的参加科幻大会的人，因为承担了大量的繁重的工作，送到了医院。如果我们要在每年都在这个亚洲地区举办这样的亚洲科幻大会，我认为以目前的亚洲地区的这样的能力，很有可能会给科幻迷和科幻从业者或者参加科幻大会的工作人员造成更大的负担。这对于发展。
时间结束，还没开始。
Time for debate against the motion has expired. Thank you.
谢谢。
Does actually, I believe we've heard all the viewpoints that this is pretty well covered. We're ready to vote, are we not? No? I guess not. Well, no, wait. Well, both of you have had a chance, so once. So, wait a minute. Someone who hasn't had a chance to speak in favor. This has to be a speech in favor. Wait a minute. How much time is left in favor?
Minutes and 30 seconds.
4
minutes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
刚才的主席先生您好，刚才的发言的那个朋友，他是反对这个亚洲科幻大会，他是站在一个从业者的角度，觉得已经有很多这样的科幻大会，然后再增加一个是不是会造成混乱，而且给从业者带来很大的压力。那么我站在一个纯科幻迷的角度，而且是老科幻迷的角度来发表一下我的意见。就是目前在亚洲区域，科幻迷的这样的活动确实是很多，但我认为并不是像刚才那位发言人那样说的，这些活动已经很成熟了。这些活动还都有，从我一个科幻迷的角度来看，这些活动还都有待于提高。而我们这个世界科幻大会如果在亚洲区举办的话，这是一个非常好的机遇，对于所有的这个其他各类的科幻迷的会议的这个提高，是一个很好的出境。我是支持这个我们有这个亚洲区的科幻大会。
报上名字，请报上名字。
我叫孙万春，谢谢。
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? People who have not spoken in favor of it. Well, actually, you've already spoken in favor, have you not? Haven't you? Not at this point. Okay, fine. Mr. Eastlake.
Donald Eastlake, just a couple of quick points. One is that an ASFIC does not necessarily have to be a giant convention. Somebody could run a small ASFIC if they wanted. And the second point is that there are many conventions in Asia, perhaps science fiction conventions, but they could be combined with an ASFIC. Some national convention in some country, any country in Asia, could seek to be selected as an ASFIC and jointly be both an ASFIC and whatever national convention that they normally were. So it does not require new conventions or huge conventions. Also, I guess I said 2 points, but I'll give a third point. There is a distance limitation. So let's say, for whatever reason, this is already in effect. So Chengdu was choosing an ASFIC for 2024. It would be restricted to sites that were at least 800 kilometers from Chengdu. So it would be less likely that people who are Chengdu staff would work on that convention. They might, but Chengdu could not select itself for the next year.
Mr. McCarty, I believe you were trying to get my attention, and would you please stand up?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to call a question.
Is there a second on the motion to end the debate? This is not debate, but I'd like to see a show of hands of anybody who still wishes to debate this question. Just raise your hand. Yeah, I'm not asking you to debate it. I just want to know if you wanted to debate it. Just raise your hand. I'm trying to find out. Okay. No, it's not that. I'm following and saying rules. Thank you. This is a motion. This is a yes. I know. I'm just counting to see if you had. Okay, you don't. You can put your hand down now. So this is not a vote. I just a show of who wanted to debate. There's a rule, and we have a rule that says when the motion to close debate comes up, I have to ask who might still want to speak. It takes a 2/3 vote to shut off debate. I will first take a show of hands without counting it and find out if people are tired of talking and want to vote. All those who are in favor of ending the debate now, raise your hands. Hands down. Those of you who wish to continue the debate, raise your hands. Hands down. In the opinion of the chair, there is more than 2/3 in the affirmative. The debate is closed. The question before us is to adopt the combined, all of the 4.x through 4.x.5 material and the change to section 1.2 and the provisions associated to it. This is the vote on whether to establish an ASFIC or not, provided that it gets ratified next year if it passes. Are there any questions about what we are voting on? Yes.
好，那么接下来就到了我们现在的最终的表决，就是我们到底是不是要赞成通过我们原议程的 F9的从4.1到4.4这些所有的内容，包括我们刚才提交的这个少数派报告第3页的 F.9.B 合在一起的内容，也就是我们后续是否会有亚洲科幻大会的一个设立。我们现在表决的内容是这个，好，请大家理解。
I will first take a show of hands, uncounted, and if it is unclear, I will do a serpentine vote. All those in favor of adopting the ASFIC proposal, raise your hands. Hands down. All those opposed? Hands down. In the opinion of the chair, the affirmative has it. This motion is adopted. It is not. An ASFIC is not established at this point. This motion has given first passage. It will be sent to next year's Worldcon for ratification. Should it be ratified, it will first take effect in the following year. That brings this, let me make a note on my own notes what just happened here. That brings an end to the consideration of item F.9. And somewhat to my relief, I relinquished the chair.
My thanks to the deputy presiding officer for taking care of that. The only announcement that I'm aware of that I need to do is the Mark Protection Committee. Mark Protection Committee will meet at 10 a.m. tomorrow in this room, if it's available. Yeah, okay. So I will be sending out a notice to the members of the Mark Protection Committee, and I think we will probably have a quorum for the Mark Protection Committee here, but I will be attempting to set up a Zoom for remote people. The Mark Protection Committee is the continuing body that protects the trademarks for the World Science Fiction Society, like the name Hugo Award. And this meeting is open. Anybody else who wants to can come and listen. Only the members of the Mark Protection Committee can come. But it's an open meeting. And probably won't run too long tomorrow. Maybe half an hour, 40 minutes, something like that. So, thanks to everybody for attending the business meeting, and to all the head table staff for the support. Does anybody else have any announcements? Hearing none, I'd like to thank all the support staff as well. And to declare the World Science Fiction Society business meeting for the virtual con adjourned sine die.
어, 뭐죠? もちろんもちろん。
今日運びたいじゃないですか。
僕1時から、こちらでイタリアと話さなきゃいけないから、あと20分ぐらいでイタリアと話さなきゃいけないので、終わった後でゆっくり話すのでいいのか、今簡単に話しちゃってもいいで、1時間でイタリアとの話終わるから、その後3時半に写真撮りがあるんで。
I mean, you argue that there's much more in the US than us. I don't like it more than I would prefer to get rid of the NASDAQ as well. But I
そういえば今日チェア紹介してくれるって言ってた。だよね。いやいやね。